Young Bucks, all goats. What's up? I'm the goat. I'm here with the bum. Bum, can you hear me?
And his maracas.
Let me take my sombrero off. Hold on. All right, dude. How you doing?
I'm doing.
The big news for me this week, I don't know about you. Big news this week for me was the Mexican aliens. And I'm not talking about illegal aliens or the people who cut your front yard, backyard. I'm talking about the aliens that were shown in the Mexican Congress. I'll pull up a picture of them. Let me ask you this. Have you asked anybody about this situation?
Actually, a lot of people have asked me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yesterday was my once a week going to the office. So that was quite the talk at the office.
Interesting, because most people that I have asked about this were not aware of this, which I found very interesting.
Yeah. No, I was asked, and it's funny. A couple of them, when I responded to them the way that I responded to you when you asked me about it, they responded just like you did. What I mean by that is, remember when you asked me, like, hey, like, what's your take on this? Do you believe this? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said something to the effect, well, you know, when some American scientists and doctors, you know, examine it and do an autopsy, you know, I'll have a different take, right?
Right.
And you said, well, I may not want those people looking at this at all.
Right.
And that's exactly how a lot of people, when I had the conversation, said, yeah, I don't know if we want our people looking at that.
Right.
But, you know, the problem is that's the problem, right? Because if it doesn't pass muster in the United States, it really is just a hoax, right? If it's not, you know what I mean? Like, if it's not validated by a major power, then it's a hoax. Isn't that what happens?
Yeah, in general, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do I have it up on the screen here, Bum?
Yes, you have several pictures here of I don't know if it's a casket or a box or whatever.
It's like a display case or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I've sold toys that come kind of sort of packaged like this. First thoughts. Okay, let's just start off. First thoughts.
Initial thoughts
without any fucking nothing. One, it looks like ET. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A little more worn and dusty.
Yeah. They did like a little whatever on it, but kind of in the ET fashion. Two, they are saying that these things are like 700 to 1,700 years old or something like that in that neighborhood. Is that kind of?
Yeah, that's a pretty wide range. I mean, in some of the pictures you're showing here, I'm not sure if you could see it, but it's describing it as 1,000-year-old alien.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of over under on this thing. But like they've gone 700. You know, I've heard a lot of older things more tied down to a date. So that's kind of like, I'm like, damn, they have a 1,000-year spread on this. Two, if it were 1,000 years old, let's say, okay, and they say that they rescued these things from some mines in Peru, which is a nice story, near the Nazca lines. So 1,000 years old, and then since 2017, we've had them in these little boxes. There's a lot of like dust and debris off to the side. Can you see that? can you see where there's like a little, like a bunch? I know these are not very big pictures, but it looks like there's sprinkles of dust off to the side.
Yeah.
Okay, so if to me, I'm just looking at it, I'm like, if that only happened in the last 6 years, how did this thing stay together for 1,000 years? If only in the last 6 years you have all this other debris and dust around it. That's just kind of first thoughts. Looks like ET and a lot of debris.
Well, and to your point, going a little deeper, right? You said, wow, they have a pretty big spread on how old it is. That would imply that they haven't done any carbon dating on it, which is the approved scientific method of aging old shit, right?
Right.
So obviously they haven't done that, because that'll pretty much tell you, that doesn't give you a spread. It gives you more of a narrow number.
Sure.
Carbon dating, I believe.
Yeah. No, I mean, they did say like they'll open it up to any other scientist scrutiny, so anybody else can sort of test it and shit. So that's cool.
Like how do we know that these aren't like statues? Like,
oh yeah, that's a concern.
Maybe they were found in the mine and all that, but they could have been weird statues that somebody created a long time ago. That could be a different conversation. Like, oh wow, like what are these statues? Where did they get these looks from? Like what was their reference point? But it could be a statue that's that old.
Sure. Now, what kind of throws that off is they said that there is not, they've tested the DNA on these things and it's non-human. Now, what does that mean? This is again layman here fucking talking. What does that mean? Like, is there some animal? Is this some sort of animal maybe that we don't know about? Not non-human could mean animal,
right? Or vegetable or some other, because non-human tells me it's some other type of life form or something. But there's a ton of things that are rated as non-human.
Right?
It could insects. We could go on, right?
Anything, dogs, cats, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, which I've heard some debunkers say that this is probably a mixture of, some animal
DNA mixed with some clever,
some shit mixing, like
that.
Yeah. Which is what the debunkers have said about that.
I got it. No, my position is, let's find out, right? Let's see. But who are you going to believe, right? Because to your point, would you feel 100% confident if, the U.S. flew some scientists and they said, no, this is paper mache?
Which it could very well be.
Or it's plaster of Paris aged in a certain way to look old or whatever. Would you feel like, oh, okay, case closed? I feel like I got the answer. I don't know.
Right. I mean, we did also have, well, first of all, to be fair, let me just disclose what I know about the guy who made the presentation in the Mexican Congress before they presented these corpses, I guess is the best way to describe them. This guy, dating back decades, has been a UFO alien enthusiast, for lack of a better term.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought this guy was like an official. He's sort of like, do you know Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp? Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of those guys.
He's kind of like the Mexican counterpart to those guys. Very into aliens, very into this sort of UFO kind of thing. So he's the guy who spoke when they presented them, and from what I read, he's been debunked in the past about discovering certain things. So the other thing that I think we even talked about on the podcast before was the president of Mexico has been known to talk about mythical creatures.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of this, it's like a forest kind of elf creature.
Yeah. That was the latest thing that he pointed to.
Yeah, and there was like a photograph that had been debunked years before, and he posted it. So I'm kind of taking this thing with a grain of salt. Interesting. Initially, it was very interesting. I just think they're trying to become like first to market. How we talk about like NFL insiders, like they want to be the first to tell you about a trade or an injury or whatever at the cost of being correct. Sometimes it had that feel to it to me.
Yeah, but that sucks because you got to get some, like, if you want to be one of those NFL insiders, you got to at least get some of it right. You can't it can't be all made up. They don't do that, so to speak. They may think that a knee injury that they report ends up being an Achilles. That's different than, he didn't have an injury at all,
Sure.
And if this thing doesn't turn out to be anything but an alien, it's a failure as far as the information they've provided, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were to give this a percentage based on your UFO alien followings over the years, what would you give it?
I will use what they use in the cybersecurity world and also in the intelligence area. I would say I have low confidence in this.
Now, all right, I'm not going to argue with you there. As excited as I was to initially hear about this,
still I am. I want to get to the truth, good or bad.
Right. We deserve that.
Yeah.
But just in general, and I have some more stories here we can talk about. Would you say over the last 10 years or so, whatever, there's more and more and more? I mean, the next day after this, we had a U.S. hearing about NASA and the
assigning a director.
Yeah, which they wouldn't name, which I thought that was weird, but they started talking about it.
Yeah.
So that and the hearings before, it seems to be way more talked about now than ever before, right? Would you say?
Oh, that goes without a doubt. I would say that the last 5 years has been an explosion of this. I mean, this stuff used to be immediately shot down. I mean, immediately.
Right. Always there was some story.
Yeah. Well, there was always a plausible explanation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was either debunked completely or it was explained as a natural occurring event or a photographic problem, or there was always an explanation. Now they're having hearings in Congress about the validity of these things and how they're allowing whistleblowers and testimony to not just say, oh, no, we know what it is, or no, this is all bull crap. They're leaving room to not have certain things explained, which is unprecedented in the history of all this.
Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of theories around that. Is it a smokescreen for other things? Are they greasing the skids, so to speak, to bring this into us slowly because they know they can't hide it anymore? is it just a distraction from other things? I mean, there's a ton of, you could go down the rabbit hole on those explanations too.
I know there's a lot of theories, but like if you had to put your money on it, which one would you put your money on that this is?
I think I'm a little biased. I am thinking the part of me that wants to believe this makes me a little biased. I have to admit, I'm thinking that they no longer can hide what they don't know. And let's just call it that. There's things that they don't know. I'm not saying that equates to absolute aliens, but they're admitting now that there's things that they don't know about or understand. And I think they're starting to share that. Does that mean there's aliens for sure? No. I think they're just being honest because it's harder to hide now that there's things they just don't understand. And they're willing to say that.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems to me like the art of like saying a lot without saying nothing, especially when I listened to this NASA hearing and they just said they talked for so long, but they said so little. They basically just said there could be something out there. We don't know what it is. We can't confirm it's alien, but we're gonna look at it closer and we're putting a guy in charge to look at it closer and he's going to head up this department, but we don't know how much money we're going to put into this department and we're not going to tell you exactly who this guy is. So it's like so like non-committal,
right?
It could be everything, it could be nothing. It just depends how you
right.
look at it. And it
but
was just
but isn't that so farther along than when they used to just immediately shut it down?
Yeah, absolutely. In a way, yeah. But it's still so far from where we want to be,
Yeah, it's still nebulous.
It's still so far from them saying, but you know what? One time Neil Armstrong, like they probably have that story, right? Saw some shit and we didn't know, like they're not going to share that. They're just going to say like, hey, whoop, we're going to check it out. It's so far from them divulging. They're never going to say, yeah, you know what? Fucking Roswell, we're not fucking sure, You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They're not giving us anything. They're just
and then the timing of that other story where they discovered like K-18 or some other planetary system where they actually believe there could be life. There's oceans.
It's almost like, is this the recent one?
Yes, and
it's all coming at once, right?
Right. It's almost like they're laying the foundation. So, like when these things are over the fucking planet, we're not like going, "Oh wow, that's surprising."
Right. So there's the Mexican aliens. There's the planets that the telescopes found. There's the earthquakes on the moon from the lander. What else is there? There's like there's the UAP NASA hearing. So like they're kind of throwing a bunch of shit at the same time.
Yeah, you know what's the other one? And I didn't read a ton about it because I saw it and it had a lot of what's the word? What's the study of space again?
Astronomy?
Yeah, I guess. Or is that the symbols? Anyways, they were talking about, you remember like a few months ago, or maybe it was last year, that they did like a test to see if they could move an asteroid out in space to see if they could deflect it.
Yeah, to protect us from a certain doom. Yeah, I remember.
Another thing they've been talking a lot about, which tells me they probably know something, or they know that the probability of that happening is increasing, and it's just a numbers game.
It's inevitable if you listen to certain scientists. Yeah,
exactly. But they mentioned that something about that asteroid now is behaving weirdly. Something like that. And I didn't get to read the whole thing, but that's another one that's kind of out there, that the one that they were doing testing and deflecting wasn't behaving the way that they expected ever since they messed with it. That doesn't sound good.
Well, there's certain scientists, and they frequent Joe Rogan, and I can't remember their names right now, but like there's two guys specifically, and those guys will tell you that fuck global warming, fuck whatever the fuck you may think is the fucking
the real threat,
existential extinction level event. The biggest threat that we have right now is an asteroid crashing into the planet, sort of like what wiped out the dinosaurs. That's the biggest threat that we need to be looking out for, and that's what those guys, not dumb fucks like me and you, but people who study this shit for will tell you that's what we really need to be looking for, other than any of the other shit.
I would think that's a lot more tangible. I could hook up my train to that one. That makes sense. I would think that would be a focus, because that's mathematical. That's bound to happen.
Yeah, because we get hit by little ones every once in a while. There's gonna be a big one that comes.
Right.
Whether they can do like a fucking one of those movies, what is it? Fucking Deep Impact, and what was the other one? There was two movies that were like almost.
Oh, the one where they land the people. Armageddon
And Deep Impact, right? They were almost the same movie.
Yeah.
Like that scenario seems plausible at some point where that shit's coming.
And again, the fact that they're openly, before they might have tried to do the testing around deflection of a meteor or asteroid in a top secret way. There's rockets that go up and you never know really why they're going up. So the fact the fact that they're coming and saying that they're doing it probably tells me that they've been working on this for a long as shit time.
Yeah, you ever seen those commercials where they practice in like their military commercials to try to enlist people, and they show like kind of, they're not real world scenarios, but they show them sort of like shooting down like asteroids and shit in space, and then they try to enlist you into the military with them. Like that's just probably coming, or I would hope they're preparing for that kind of shit. And they do land every once in a while. They're just small, like in Russia, there was one a few not too long ago. Meteorite shit.
Oh no, they happen all the time.
They're just not big enough.
Exactly, to cause anything, out of control.
Catastrophic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a ramping up of this type of alien UFO space. It just seems a lot more.
Yeah,
we're in a cycle. There's a cycle. It quieted down, and now it's fucking ramped up right now.
But again, you have to admit, like never before.
Oh yeah, I think every time we have one of these cycles and it stops and it comes back, it's come back even bigger than before.
Right.
And I feel like right now we're sort of at the peak of at least them talking about it. Now, why are they talking about it? Are they legit? Are they distractions? It's crazy because you talk about conspiracy theorists 10, 15 years ago, aliens, UFOs. Now they're talking about aliens, UFOs. The conspiracy theorists are all like, bullshit. It's all bullshit. PSYOP. Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's funny how it goes. Now that they're like talking about it and admitting some of the shit, the conspiracy theorist people are like, fuck that. It ain't real. It ain't
real. It's almost like it has to be a secret and underground for it to be real, right?
Once it gets mainstream, it's bullshit. You know,
right?
Yeah.
Do you believe it like that too?
To a certain extent,
Yeah.
But it's almost like being trendy too.
Right.
If I'm being honest, it's like, I
At
don't
the
know.
point that everybody's talking about it and it's trending, it loses its luster, sort of, right?
Yeah, man, because like we mentioned, like it's back to back. The fucking Mexicans show these aliens. We have the NASA hearing. The telescope is finding other, which admittedly, I don't know if you listened to the UAP NASA hearing. Bill Nelson, who I believe he was an astronaut in the past. I don't know if you know that, or
Actually, he was a senator for Florida
and a fucking astronaut, right?
and he went on the space shuttle, but I don't know if I guess technically if you go up on I don't know if he was always an astronaut. I know that he prepared and trained to go on a shuttle mission, and he did.
I think he's one of the few people to serve in government and go up there, if I'm not mistaken. There might be one other.
No,
Tank's
there's
not here, so I don't know. But
John Glenn would be another one.
Okay, they may be the two only guys to serve and go up there. So I forgot where I was going with this.
The NASA guy, Bill Nelson.
Yeah.
Appointing somebody?
Yeah, well, they didn't say who it was. They
of course not.
They wouldn't say who. They named somebody without actually naming them. But I don't know. I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. But it's just a lot of talk about this. I mean, they're even talking about the old Apollo spacecraft causing earthquakes on the moon.
I was reading that one.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, the conditions on the moon goes through like a bunch of environmental changes almost daily. It contracts, it heats up, it gets cold. And apparently they've been watching that the lunar lander, like when those things starts to happen, it starts to like pop. It starts to agitate the lander itself,
But when one starts to happen,
like the moon has these environmental changes, like it gets super cold, it gets hot, all these changes, environmental changes, and it starts to cause the lunar lander to contract and morph and change. And like I didn't know that. I didn't know that the moon was still like that volatile.
Right. Now, that's crazy because that thing's been there fucking 50 years, 50 plus years.
Yeah. 1972.
I mean, if that shit were on Earth, it'd be fucking corroded just sitting there. Right. If you left a car from 1970 in your front yard without fucking nothing, you don't fucking do anything to it, it'd be in shambles. So what it'd be interesting to fucking see what
the condition.
Yeah, the condition of what that shit looks like.
Yeah.
And why would something not so heavy or not so massive be able to cause an earthquake like condition? That's crazy. And how could we even measure that?
And that's what I learned in that article. Apparently, what was so significant about the Apollo 17 mission, and this just could be timely bullshit, right?
Is that the last mission?
It may have been the last mission that actually landed.
Okay.
But the significance of that mission is, if you believe what they say, is that that mission specifically installed a ton of seismographs, things to measure
seismic activity.
Seismic activity. I don't know if seismograph is the right word. It's or seismometric devices on, and they were sending a ton of data between 1972 and 1976. And a lot of the data that they received at that time, they couldn't decipher it. And now, supposedly because of AI, they're able to decipher a lot of that material.
Because of Allen Iverson?
Because of his basketball skills, he apparently knows about artificial intelligence too.
Practice.
Yeah,
talking about practice.
Lunar module. It was unclear also in the reading if those devices are still working. I don't think so. I think what they've been able to decipher now is a lot of the data that they couldn't decipher when they were getting it 50 years ago.
Yeah, all that shit's super interesting because you know about have you ever seen that documentary or heard about it? I'm butchering it right now probably. It's like the last or the furthest I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it has to do with these probes that we sent out like in the 70s.
Voyager?
Yeah, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. I forget the name of the documentary, but like they've almost gone obsolete, but they still send back like this little bit of data every once in a while.
Yes.
At least one of them.
Yes.
And so when I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, these are so far away. Yeah, it totally makes sense that anything we left on the moon, which is really right there in comparison to these things that are almost, one of them I think is already out of our solar system. So it would make sense that we could still get data.
What's the moon, like? Maybe less than 300,000 miles away or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know the mileage, but in comparison to out of the solar system, it's
absolutely
nothing. Yeah,
it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, even like these people that they say go to space, these millionaires that go to space, or even the fucking the space station, that shit's just fucking in our orbit. They call that outer space, but that's literally kind of,
you could almost see that shit flying around, right?
Yeah, you could
track it. Yeah,
you could literally see it with the naked eye. And a little bit further down, I don't know if you ever seen like these Red Bull things. They actually parachute off the edge of space back into it. So they're like kind of right there, and the moon's far, but not far in comparison with out of our solar system.
Those people that parachute, I've seen that. They're obviously in the layer underneath where you need a heat shield. If not, you'll fucking burn up, right?
I don't fucking get that, dude, because they jump out of like a little pod that's floating, but when they jump out of the pod, they go down. Red Bull has done at least one of these that I've seen. And like the guy is in a pod that seems to be floating in space, but when he jumps out of that pod, he like starts parachuting into our atmosphere. I don't know. Really don't know how it works, dude. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that sounds a little dangerous.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. I don't really get it. So I don't know. A lot of people have come out and debunked these aliens from Mexico because this Mossad, I don't know what this guy's name is, the one who presented this whole fucking theory, he's been debunked in the past. And I looked him up, like 8 years, 10 years ago, he's doing videos about aliens. And, I would love to believe it, but they said they x-rayed them and they had eggs, one of them. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The spiel was they found several of these in Peru near the Nazca lines in a mine.
That I heard.
Yeah, in the mine there was some sort of element or chemical or something that didn't not mummify them, but somehow like
Preserve them,
desiccate them and preserve them, and that they did DNA testing on them, and they were non-human. But then again, non-human could, like we said, it could be anything, animal, and that
cement.
yeah, and that they were open to any other scientist investigating them.
You know what's shocking though? That these people are leaving themselves to immense criticism because, I mean, you're either right or wrong, and for you to say, okay, these are aliens, we tested them, there's going to be other countries that are going to want to look at this, and they're going to say you're full of shit. Why would you do that?
First to market, because nobody's lining up to investigate these things. Like,
that's odd.
Right. Like if the next day NASA's having a hearing about aliens, if they even thought it was legitimate, they would say, and we're going to investigate these bodies that were presented in the Mexican Congress just yesterday. And the Mexican Congress, I believe they had one of the guys who spoke in the last hearings before that with Commander Shraver, I think that's his name, and what's the other guy's name? The whistleblower, Grouch or something like that. And
yeah,
there was another guy. So they mentioned some of those guys, and I think one of those guys even spoke at that hearing, but there was no mention of that the next day.
Just like that guy Grouch. I don't know how to say his name either, but
I think that's his name.
All right.
Yeah.
That guy hasn't said a lot of like very specific things, right? But dude, everything that he has said, he could be held in contempt of, Congress if proven a lie.
There's one thing I can say about that guy. He's been very careful of doing it sort of legally, which means he has gone through, I don't remember the terminology right now, but he's gone under whistleblower protection.
Yes.
He's gone through like a sort of meeting with them and like, what can I talk about? What can I not talk about? And they've sort of told him what he can talk about and what he cannot talk about. And in a lot of those hearings, a lot of the answers have been, I can tell you that in a closed session, but I can't tell you that publicly.
No. Right.
He's tried to do that whole thing sort of by the book on what he can talk about. I mean, bullshit or not.
Right. But what I'm saying is that whatever he says, and he has said some things, it just, when it comes to the detail and the specificity, is where he backs off and says, I could show you in a private setting. But everything else that he said could easily be said, okay, you lied under oath in front of Congress, just for the stuff he has said. Forget about, I need to show you in a private setting, because that means nothing. But he's taking a huge risk of getting into legal trouble by lying to Congress. Why would you do that?
Yeah, the other thing is he has not he hasn't gotten his knowledge is secondhand. That's the other thing. That's the point I was trying to make. He's none of the stuff that he's talking about or claiming is firsthand.
It's firsthand, yeah.
Right. So that's like one of the red flags with his testimony and shit.
Right. That makes everything hearsay.
Right. So whether I say this guy's the most honest upstanding patriot of all time. Well, guess what, man? Somebody could have been lying to you. There's no, you didn't see it. You didn't see the alien. You didn't see the craft. You're talking to people who said they did. Well, if I was a person and you told me, and Tank told me, and somebody else told me, and my wife told me, and my cousin told me, maybe that's where he's at. Like, fuck, so many people have told me about this that it has to be true. Not everybody could be lying, which, you would be in that situation too, right? If enough people tell you about something, you're going to start to believe it, whether you've seen it firsthand or not, right?
Yeah. I mean, they would have to, at some point, lay down some piece of information that would lead me to believe that they're credible, right? I mean, because I could tell you anything, but at the point that you really will believe me is like, oh, okay, you cross-checked my facts, or I showed you something. Maybe it's not the alien, but it's something unusual that you can't. At some point, there has to be something that's just not me telling you something. There has to be some evidence.
Yeah. I mean, for me right now, the only thing with him that would lead credibility is the amount of people that have allegedly told him. So, like, just in my regular day-to-day life, let's just talk about mundane things right now. If I told you, hey, Game of Thrones, you gotta watch it. Hey, you might just fucking whatever. But if like 10 people tell you you gotta watch Game of Thrones, you're more likely to watch Game of Thrones, right? Than if just one told you.
Well, sure. There's things that when you get like a lot of feedback that, hey, this is really hot, or this is the thing you got to check out, or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna say, wait a minute, I got to check this out.
Yeah, if you're getting hammered with something, so that's one thing. If this guy's getting hammered with all this stuff, then that leads some credence. But that's the sort of red flag that, like, hey, there's no firsthand knowledge of any of the stuff that he's saying. It's all just sort of hearsay kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, it'll be interesting to see
where this ultimately goes.
Yeah, which probably will be nowhere, if we're being honest.
That has been the past result, right?
Absolutely.
See, like, we may be in a new stage now, right? Like, if the old stage of I don't know, from the 1940s to, let's say, the 5 years ago, let's see, 2016 or whatever. If from that period of time, the standard protocol was to debunk everything immediately. No, this can't be it. This is not what you do. Maybe now the new stages give us a little bit more, then debunk it. I don't know. That's what it seems like is happening.
Yeah, I mean, what would be really interesting is if they were to say, yeah, you know what? We have some craft. And these craft are from the 50s or the 60s, Then that would be like, oh shit, yeah, they got some stuff in the past, then we would, but there's never any smoking gun with any of this shit, at least that's admitted to. It's always hazy testimony and footage and fucking go fast, fucking Nimitz, fucking TikTok. It all looks like a fucking video game from the 70s. Like, none of the shit is definitive. So that's sort of where we're at. Hey, but good news, man. They caught the little guy out in what was that, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Cavalcante or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you put enough resources into anything, you could
everybody. Yeah, that local department was getting a lot of heat already.
I gotta tell you, that's fucking hard to do, man. To fucking catch one guy once he's escaped. You're fucked up when he's like, there's no excuse for him escaping, but like,
right.
Like once he's escaped, you put it on local, law enforcement. Like, fuck, now we gotta catch a fucking needle in a haystack here. That's not that easy to do.
No.
But I wonder, and they probably won't fully divulge the details on how they caught him. But I remember hearing the day before, like, hey, they have him contained. Like it was imminent that they had him. And then sure enough, the next day they had him.
Well, there was a couple times that they thought that they had contained him to the point that was it, and he slipped through. So they were already getting that, oh, okay, yeah, sure, you got him. Yeah, right. I also saw that they got a little bit of some beef afterwards because they, like a lot of the cops who basically looked like military because they're in full camouflage, night vision, helmets, tactical weapons. They took a picture with him, like when they captured him, like you do, like if you capture a deer or freaking
out on the field,
an alligator, yeah. And then they had to explain, well, we treated him more than civil and humanely, but they didn't say, okay, like what was the purpose of the picture? It was like they didn't really want to get into that, but yeah, they took a picture like a bunch of dudes all in camo with a little guy in the middle.
You know what that reminds me of, dude? Deer Hunter. You remember that movie?
Yes.
Where they come back with the deer strapped to like the hood of the car and shit, and like some people are not like thrilled about that and shit,
Yeah.
Which is like as a hunter, that was like something I understood when I watched that movie, because like that's the ultimate goal, right? When you go hunting, to come back with something, that you caught. And then like, but there's other people they'll look at that like, you're fucking savage, dude. You're fucking barbarian. Yeah, exactly.
You killed Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right. While you're buying the fucking chicken that was in a cage, for fucking all its life, and then you're eating it for dinner, whatever.
That's right.
But yeah, I'll just say, whenever I see one of those manhunts and they catch them in time, I'm like, fuck, kudos to the law enforcement agents, but there's got to be technology involved. I don't know what technology there was involved in this.
Oh, they particular... had. I know they had drones going, definitely.
But like the guy didn't have a cell phone on him. Obviously, he did steal somebody's rifle or shotgun.
Yep. 22 rifle with a scope.
He stole off somebody.
He took it from a garage, and then they say that his plan, the reason he took it was not really to fire it at the sheriff or the law enforcement, which he didn't. The reason supposedly he took it is because he was going to carjack somebody and escape with the vehicle.
Okay. He was going to use that to carjack.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just glad they caught the fucking guy.
Oh, absolutely. The guy's brutal, man. He killed, stabbed to death his girlfriend or something.
Did you hear the reporter who said, was there any concern that he would team up with another little guy and put on a trench coat? And
no, you're bullshitting me.
That was a real thing. Little Rascal style.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
The tall, big guy that's really two guys?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not hear that one.
There's a new iPhone out. I'm sure you heard about that. Did you?
I heard about it, but no. I didn't see the specs of it. typically what I do is I don't upgrade for like 3 or 4 versions. I don't get the newest every time.
Yeah, me either. I'm cheap. It's supposed to have some new fucking
It
things.
always has something, right?
Yeah, but like it seems like they're more substantial than in the past.
It seems like the bulk of what they do to it is around the camera area. It seems that way.
Yeah.
Because some of the other software and shit, I mean, it's kind of hard to really improve it.
There's impeachment news.
Yes, there is. Impeachment news. McCarthy has given permission for the House to begin an impeachment inquiry on President Biden.
Now, do you buy into the idea that he sort of caved into pressure to doing this from his party,
Well,
under fear that they would take away his leadership role?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you remember that this guy, you'd have to look it up, but this guy had a very rough time getting elected speaker.
I remember, yeah, it was a lot of
and
yeah.
and if I remember clearly, one of the things that they call it caucuses, like groups within groups, right? One of the the real hard right factions of the party wanted to make sure that impeachment of Biden was on the agenda, and he was hesitant towards that in the beginning. And I believe he negotiated that when he became speaker to make sure that he would bring that up.
Yeah, and this impeachment thing is not that rare lately, but it used to be rare. I think like Andrew Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those old dudes.
Yes.
Nixon, under fear of impeachment, resigned. Obviously, Clinton, Trump, multiple, more than once, and now Biden. It's more of like a recent phenomenon.
Yeah, but what is clear also is, for example, in the Nixon thing, if that would happen, well, you see what happens now. In the Nixon thing, both parties initially, the party of the president was a little reluctant, but eventually everybody united and said, okay, yeah, this guy has to go. And the Republicans, obviously Nixon was a Republican, actually went to Nixon and said, hey, listen, we're going to support an impeachment. And that's when he knew, that's kind of when he knew that he had to resign, because he would have been impeached. Now what happens is,
I gotta tell you, I don't even know what it means.
Now, since
do you know what it means?
Clinton, what?
To be impeached.
Yeah, impeached. Well, if you look up the definition, it's to be challenged, to be questioned, to,
And you, nobody has ever been impeached and ousted, right?
I think maybe Jackson did technically, but in the modern presidency, no. And what I was gonna say is, since Clinton and thereafter, it breaks by party lines. The party that is against, that isn't the president, clearly goes after him, and the party that supports him votes. So basically now it's almost impossible to get impeached, because you can't get agreement.
It's more like a jab, right? That you're throwing out, like, hey, fuck, we impeached you. You didn't get out.
It's worthless. It's kind of worthless when you think about it.
It's like a jab. It's just, oh, there you go.
It's a stain on your record.
There you go. Boom. We threw a jab at you. We didn't knock you out, but here you go. We still.
It's kind of like going into your office and messing all the papers up on your desk and leaving. It really, it's like, It's a gesture. Now,
Yeah.
if you get both parties, the House and the Senate, to agree, now you have action and you have something that's legitimate and effective, right? You'll get booted out. But what happens is in the modern era, it's been pretty much by party lines, and nobody can impeach anybody because if you, oh, and by the way, that's because you don't have, right, you have divided government. If the Senate and the House was controlled by one party, you would have an impeachment.
Which has never happened, right?
It has not.
Yeah.
The closest that we have is Nixon, who realized that, you know, even his own party was going to vote against him, so he resigned.
All right, let's move on from this. Do you have any bum rips since the last time we were on the air till today?
You know, I thought we were going to do that sort of monthly, so I kind of, the answer is no, because I thought we'll do that monthly.
We could go off rip here. Do we know of any since the last time? Not really, right?
There's a couple of countries. I think there was a couple country singers that died. A couple rock guys that died.
Nothing major since the last time we've been on the air.
I hate to say nothing major because that wouldn't be fair to those families. But let's say not of a high celebrity standard.
All right. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
All right. There is some sort of documentary which is pretty cool for local people. You know, Miami's one of the country's top producers of NFL players, and most of them have one thing in common. They called Nathaniel Traz Powell Stadium home, and or the Mecca, as some of them call it. And there's a new documentary from local filmmaker Nickinson Gurrier, and he explores the legacy of North Dade Stadium and the magic of high school football in Miami. The film features interviews with local legends from former Miami Dolphin players Nat Moore, Teddy Bridgewater, to hip hop pioneer and high school coach. I didn't know he was a high school coach. Uncle Luke Campbell, Two Life Crew, and
by the way, does Luther Campbell coach Northwestern?
Well, that's what it says here. He's a coach.
I think he coaches one of the big schools, high schools. That is.
Which one did you say?
I'm thinking Northwestern. Which one did that kid that played? Remember the year of the Hurricanes where there was a bunch of players and the quarterback came? They all came from the school. Wasn't it Northwestern? Jacoby something?
The guy who played for the Canes later?
Yeah, who was a quarterback.
Jacoby something. If the bum were here, he would know. Jacoby Harris?
Yes, maybe that's it.
Yeah. Well, it mentions here that he's a coach. So it's a documentary, and I'm trying to figure out where it's from. It's a stadium built in 1965 and renamed in 1988 in honor of Nathaniel Powell, who was the first black player to score a touchdown in the Orange Bowl and later won 6 state championships coaching high school football in Miami. Traz Powell Stadium. It's the shared home of several championship winning programs, including Miami Northwestern, Carroll City, Booker T, Washington, Central, and New Orleans. NFL stars who grew up playing at the Mecca, as it was nicknamed, include Amari Cooper, Northwestern, Dalvin Cook, Central, and Antonio Brown, New Orleans.
By the way, Uncle Luke coaches at Edison.
Okay.
Which is another big school, right?
Yeah. So it's sort of like a love letter to his hometown. He wants the whole world to read it. Unfortunately, I don't have here where you can watch this.
I love all those kind of local documentaries that bring back a lot of nostalgia about, whether it's the documentary, Cocaine Cowboys.
Yeah, most
This
of those
sounds
are that guy Billy something.
Billy Corbin.
There you
go. This one sounds like in that level,
right.
which they're cool.
I've been to a handful of high school football games the last few years. They're fun. They're fun to attend.
Yeah, I went to the ones obviously that my daughter cheered at, and they were pretty cool. Amazing how big the kids are.
Yeah, which segues into my next bullet point that I have tonight.
Yes, sir.
I know your daughter did come down this weekend. Did she do the Bright Line?
No,
Okay.
she came down with a friend. They got here this morning.
Independently. Okay.
Yes.
Because Bright Line opens. Well, yeah, she couldn't have. It just opened today.
Yeah.
It's Orlando Station today, and tickets between Miami and Orlando start at $79 for adults and $39 for kids. Now, that college is a bits away from Orlando, or how close is it to Orlando?
It's in Orlando, but it's deep. It's deep in there. Like it's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's closer to 4 hours.
So there would be like an Uber ride involved to get to the station.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that opened. It seems a little expensive to me because I'm thinking, let's say, hey, me and the wife and the kids want to go to Disney. 80, 80, 40, 40, 16, 240 round trip, 480. Fuck it, I'm driving. You know what I'm saying?
Well, put it this way. Like we've talked about it. Like Vivian and I, and like that would only make sense. Like let's say Vivian wanted to go up there by herself and she absolutely didn't want to drive. Maybe that scenario. But other than that, it's better to drive unless you absolutely hate driving.
Right. Well, you know who travels exclusively on train, right? Is
the North Korea guy.
oh yeah, dude. And I believe from what I've read, like he has like lobsters airlifted to the train and shit like that. That might be cool.
He was in Russia.
Yes.
And
It was.
they showed him pulling up in the train, and dude, he's got even his car on that thing, and it comes out of the his car, his limo.
Oh yeah, they have that shit, and it's like for any local rides he wants to do.
And it comes out of that freaking train, and he's got some serious security. It's pretty badass, man.
It sounds like a dope ass fucking train, to be honest.
It's they were also saying it's super armored. It could take like most bazooka and air surface missile bombardment pretty well.
It's his form of travel of choice.
Yes.
Yeah, so he basically said, I'm with fucking Russia and I'll fucking help you guys.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No surprise, right?
Yeah, no surprise. They're, North Korea is dying of hunger. They have weapons.
He's not dying of hunger.
No, he's on the other hand, like they're very concerned because he lives a very indulgent.
He needs to go on a diet.
Oh yeah, they were even saying that like he probably has health issues, and he's probably gonna die of a heart attack sooner than later. Like his dad was of poor health, and his grandfather actually lasted pretty long, but also they all had health issues.
Yeah, he seems like a fat fuck that fucking over drinks and fucking.
Yes, and
I could identify. I'm not fucking.
yeah, and his like I think I sent you one time his choices of things are like very, very, what's the word? Lucrative? No, like very high level, expensive shit. Like tremendous champagnes. He likes bourbon, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He likes
American
like
whiskey.
lobster and shit like that.
He loves certain kind of bluefin tuna, all the lobster, all the sushi of the very highest levels.
Yeah, he's not fucking around.
Expensive cheeses and caviars. I mean, very rich stuff, both in calories and in money.
Talking about travel, we'll switch over to my other point here. And these people are no longer stuck, but 200 people were stuck on a luxury liner ship in Greenland. The Ocean Explorer ran aground in Alpfjord, a remote stretch of northeast Greenland National Park, on Monday, stranding its 206 passengers and crew. How remote? The Danish Navy said its closest vessel can't arrive to rescue them until Friday, which is today. A fishing boat's effort to free the ship yesterday failed. Yesterday was a few days ago. But members of the Serious Dog Sled Patrol Unit, which operates in the Arctic wilderness, have been to the ship and will be on hand to aid in the rescue. As more cruises venture to the area, they're already up 50% from last year. Dangerous and costly rescues may become more common. Now, there's an update to the story. I know that there's a ship that got to them and rescued them. My only question to this shit, sort of like that fucking submarine and shit, like who flips the bill for this, and how much knowledge do the people have that go on these trips know of the actual danger that they're embarking on? You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
if you're going on, this is obviously not as extreme as the submarine, but like, to what extent do taxpayers have to pay for this?
I think the taxpayers pay all of it. Just like the
sure, but should they is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's different. I think what you're suggesting is that a lot of these people have money that are doing these things.
These are not cheap trips.
These ultra thrill seekers or adventure travelers should be forced to pay for some of this stuff to rescue their ass.
Or the companies that provide, at minimum, the companies that provide these,
There was another one. Yeah, there was another one recently. You saw the guy who was in a cave 3,000 feet deep.
I saw that they just legitimately finally rescued him recently.
Yeah. Well, that's in another country. So that was in Turkey.
Well, but the taxpayers of that country had to pay.
But think about it. He was 3,000 feet deep and he wasn't able to, to get down there is, you got to be a tremendous, I think the term is spelunker.
Yeah.
Spelunker.
Yeah. At least he was thankful.
At the point that you can't get yourself out, that means people have to get you out in a stretcher and all that. That's risking a lot of people's life. Forget about how much it costs. when you do those things, you're also putting more people at risk.
Can you imagine? You're like some housewife. What country was this at?
In Turkey.
All right, you're a housewife.
But he was an American. He was an American.
Whatever the fuck he was, but you're a housewife in Turkey, and your Turkish husband has to go down because he's a civil, whatever, to rescue this guy, and he dies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Trying to rescue this sort
dickhead who decided to, be an adventure traveler.
Right. He's like trying to do something nobody's done before or whatever. And your husband dies or wife or whatever. Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Yeah. To me, I mean, you're right. The cost is one thing and that sucks and everything. But man, you're putting a lot of people's lives in danger in any of these rescue missions. In any of them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I saw one too that, man, I'll tell you, when I went to one of the Greek Isles, I think I told you, and you guys were laughing at me, that I rode this. The only way to get down from this fucking mountain is this trolley car down. Not like what do you call those? A gondola?
Whatever? Yeah. That's funny. We were talking about that today.
Yeah, in Pakistan.
My neighbor was on a gondola with Don Johnson Jr. I just found that out today. Not Junior. Oh, wow. Just Don Johnson. Yeah. I don't know why I threw in the Junior.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a son.
I don't know. To make it more dramatic, maybe.
But, dude, there was one of those gondolas in Pakistan that like it broke midair. It was like thousands of feet up. Dude, and they rescued those people by like stringing other cables and stuff and then having people go up there and bring them down and getting helicopters and dropping ropes, rappelling down and bringing them up. Dude, that's almost worse than just being stuck in the gondola.
And I assume this is like under snow conditions or?
Well, no, this one was, there wasn't snow, but I mean, it was fucking high up there, man. Fucking high.
It's kind of crazy. The rescue missions we have to go through sometimes for things that you're like, well, dude, you should have known this was pretty fucking dangerous to be.
You're on your own. You should sign something. If you're going to do something that's out of the norm.
There should almost be a waiver like, hey, taxpayers will not pay for your fucking rescue.
Because one thing is like, let's say, you go to Yellowstone Park and suddenly there's an avalanche or something. Well, that's different than you going in a submarine 12,000 feet underwater or something.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm all for like, hey, there's a hurricane. People are fucked, Hey, let's rescue them. Or there's an earthquake, Nobody's going to bat an eye over.
But what do you think about that, though? When they tell people to evacuate and they don't, and then they're in trouble, you think those people should be helped?
I'm a batten down the hatches kind of guy. I would never leave my home. I don't think. So, at that point, though, too, when you're making that decision, you should also be cognizant of that, like, maybe help is not going to get here for a certain amount of time, so that's I didn't like fucking venture into the eye of a hurricane. I've just ended up in one, but I don't know, that one's more tricky. I didn't actively go and put myself in danger came to me, and I wanted to stay in my homestead and make sure my shit was good, so
yeah.
I wouldn't say fuck you didn't help me, but I also wouldn't say, fuck me I didn't leave. That one's a little bit different. I wasn't adventure
traveling and thrill seeking.
Yeah, a hurricane came and I didn't want to leave. Yeah, you told me to leave, but I wanted to make sure my shit was good from whatever, so I wouldn't you would expect after a certain time they're going to help you, if shit was bad. All right.
Agreed.
Moving on from natural disasters to physical disasters. Aaron Rodgers, torn Achilles.
What a disaster.
5 plays. What do we get out of him?
4.
Now they're talking about artificial turf.
Yes. But they've been talking about that a long time, man.
I got to tell you, I'm one to say we shouldn't be talking about that anymore. There should not be, at this day and age, any more artificial turf.
I've never been. I've never liked it.
When there's the amount of money coming in and out of the NFL under contracts, ticket sales, TV, all these deals, you should be able to allocate to have those systems like they have in Arizona. They have it in like at least a couple of other places where they can maintain. Arizona, they fucking roll out that field. And there's other places where they keep it indoors, but they keep it hydrated under UV lighting, and it's still like regular grass. At this point in the game, we shouldn't, unless we thought it was beneficial in some way, which there's never been anybody to advocate for that. We should be able to have. That's not to say he wouldn't have gotten hurt, but you shouldn't have that excuse in today's day and age.
And it goes further than that. Remember that picture I sent of Daniel Jones to you, and he was making a face?
Yeah.
The other day when they were getting blown up?
Yeah.
And if you look at that picture, it's riddled with little black things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They call that crumb rubber.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been at the high school and college level. There has been lots of class action suits against the schools over crumb rubber, fields, because they've been noticing that a lot of the kids who play on that end up getting cancer.
What? I never heard of this conspiracy theory.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's an allegation, right? That athletes that play on crumb rubber fields have a higher level of cancer. And
why is that?
Well, because the rubber material, which is a carcinogen, right, known to cause cancer, is being inhaled and absorbed into the skin. Like, just like in that picture, you saw it all over his fucking helmet and his face. It isn't like the old AstroTurf that has, that's a carpet. This thing has granulated rubber on it too.
It seems to the naked eye, it seems like safer than that old rug they used to play on that was laid over cement.
Yes,
it was like field,
yeah.
Right, but this was like field turf. It was softer, it led you to believe that it was safer than that old carpet over cement, back in the 80s and shit.
No, and the crumb rubber fields especially are the problem because, again, they inhale it, they absorb it, it gets in, dude, it ends up in your crotch, in the crack of your ass. I mean, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. I heard they're pissed about it because in the upcoming World Cup, they're going to make sure that none of the stadiums have it, but they've never made sure that none of the NFL stadiums have it, which I'm with the players. They're like, fuck, man, there should be, come on, we have the fucking technology, let's allocate some funds you know, whether you're charging enough for tickets, you're paying enough for players. Allocate some funds for these players to be playing on the healthiest possible turf that they could be playing on. You know,
No, I agree.
There's no excuse.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, like I said, it used to be that carpet over concrete that posed a certain kind of injury problem, but this crumb rubber stuff is linked to, cancer, which is fucked up.
What's the link between that shit and cancer?
Damn, I just told you.
But just because rubber, the way that they're fucking.
I guess the rubber that they use is a carcinogen.
Okay.
And it finds a way of entering your body when you are playing on it a lot.
All right. The Jets are inquiring about fucking Chad Henne, dude. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I was shocked. Why that guy of all people? I mean, there's probably, there's probably a couple other guys that you could think of, right? Before that guy?
Well, Brady would be the first one, right?
Of course.
Who else would there be?
A lot of.
I even heard fucking Roethlisberger, dude.
Yeah, or how about Drew Brees?
That one's a little more. I don't know.
I mean, who's older there?
Yeah,
or
I don't know.
Contemporaries.
Or who's been longer out? Who knows? I mean,
well, let's switch over to the Dolphins for a second. Dolphins got a win last week.
How surprised were you? Say the truth.
Pretty much absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
But because, we did exchange texts about what we thought the score was going to be, and it was very close.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were like 24-17, and I was like 23, 16 or something, whatever.
Yeah.
So we envisioned not a super high scoring game, and that the Chargers would edge us out.
Yeah, it was slightly higher scoring, but the Chargers, we edged out the Chargers.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. And I was shocked in the way that it was the scoring of it on the Chargers side, not on our side. The Chargers side, dude, they ran the football like crazy on us.
Well, they ran over 200 yards. You usually don't win those games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the Eagles. Eagles last night did that to the Vikings, and
yeah.
Even though that game was also in doubt,
They also have a great defense though too. That's an old school combination you don't see a lot.
And also that team seems to be a team that could do that, or could go, like they could go either way. Hey, we could do this to you, or we could do something else to you, or we'll pass on you, or we won't. And that to me is a sign of a real dangerous team, where they could, the Patriots in their heyday would be a team that could do that to you. They'll be like, we'll fucking pound the shit out of you, or we'll fucking throw the fucking shit out of this ball on you, and you won't, like, we'll do whatever we want. You don't know what we're gonna do. And the Eagles, although these games have been close that they played, and some people are like, hey, they haven't looked great. I've looked at it sort of in a way where, hey, these people could do sort of what they want when they want. And last night they said, you know what, fuck you. We're going to fucking pound this fucking ball over your fucking throat. I like that shit, dude. I like a team that can do that to you.
I agree with you. Don't they look like a more complete team than the Chiefs? The difference being the quarterback?
Meaning that the Chiefs have a better quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think
that maybe the difference on the other side, if you're looking at it the other way, is like these guys could really say, fuck you, we'll fucking pound this on you, and you're not going to stop us. And, dude, they have a nice stable. I like it, dude. I like the mentality, the play calling, the guys they have there. And maybe I like it so much because I see
I'm sorry, of the Chiefs or the Eagles?
the Eagles. Because as a Dolphin fan, I see the lacking of that mentality and the lacking of that stable and the lacking of that play calling. And when I look at the Eagles, the grass is always greener on the other side. But I look at them and I'm like, shit, they when they fucking say they're gonna do this, they fucking do it. And they can do it when they want. And Swift looked like a fucking beast last night.
And last week that guy didn't do shit, and it was Kenneth Gainwell and some of
great name for a running back.
Yeah, Gainwell.
Yeah.
And that's the guy that really was good last week. This guy Swift was like a bum last week, and now Gainwell gets hurt, and Swift is just a monster.
Is there another guy in the mix there?
I think they have Boston Scott, I think, and they got rid of Miles Sanders, who was the guy there.
First of all, what I like I'm an old school guy in that sense. I like running the ball, and I like a commitment to running the ball. And usually you will not see teams commit to the running game that are not at least somewhat successful,
Yeah. It when I look at that Philly team, I mean, dude, you look at the offense, I mean, Hurt, probably the steal of the draft. You got
for his position that he was drafted in, which was second round somewhere, not really early, mid to late. Fucking great. Best fucking pick.
Right. And then you got, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goger, and then that freaking stable of backs that basically anybody they put is great. And that has to do with the fact that team is so great. I hate to sound like an old bum because I am.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, defensive line and offensive line are just mammoth and dominating, and that's why they could do whatever they want. But when I look at them compared to the Chiefs, I say, man, Philly should be and is a better team position by position. But it may be that let's say the Chiefs have their advantage is at quarterback and coach.
That may be, but if you were to put a gun to my head right now and you were to say who's more likely to get back to a Super Bowl, the Eagles or the Chiefs, I'd probably just go fucking Chiefs. Fucking Eagles. Sorry, Eagles.
From a pure talent perspective, I would say yes. Now,
because while I respect Andy Reid, I totally put that guy on the fucking Mount Rushmore of current NFL coaches, at least.
Absolutely.
I don't. Absolutely. There's not too many other coaches. As much as I fucking hate him, Belichick, whatever. But and yeah, there does come a time when a certain coach gets to a certain age when you can't rely. Hey, it's just a matter of fucking. It's life, dude. It's gonna happen, whether you're a human or a coach. At a certain point, shit's gonna get by you. So that could happen. I with all that, I'd say I'd probably bank more on the Eagles making a Super Bowl appearance than I would the Chiefs. Easy to say right now with the results. Even though the Eagles are 2-0 on kind of two games, they could have lost. They could have lost those games.
Yeah. Could we jump back to the Dolphins and so I could ask you something?
Well, we haven't even jumped to the Dolphins. That was the next thing on the agenda. So let's go to the Dolphins.
So tell me if you don't see this, right? don't you see? And I guess you could say this about any team, but when based on the conversation we just had about the Eagles, the key thing that you said is that they're built in such a way that they could really do what they want.
Yeah, they could fuck you up any way they want.
Right. Now, hold that thought in the back of your mind. When you look at the Dolphins and how they've won, and let's go back to me, this game with the Chargers was very reminiscent of the Ravens game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A lot of parallels.
In the sense that it was very what's that word? Formulaic. I may be saying that wrong. It was the
formula.
The formula of Tua almost getting crushed, chucking the ball out there, and Tariq running under it, sometimes having to stop to catch it. And that was the formula.
Listen, at the danger of sounding like a hater, to me, I'm glad we won, obviously.
Me too.
But Tyreek Hill, and I told you this in a text during or after the game, he was able to hide the stench of those 2 fumbles, exchanges. Could have been with the center, onto whatever, the interception. But that guy had a otherworldly performance. And as much as that guy likes to punch pregnant women in the stomach, I got to give him his props. He is a fucking absolute other level type of fucking receiver. He doesn't have the height, but he has the fucking speed and he has the fucking moves. He's the best. I don't think there's any fucking doubt about it. That guy's the best receiver in the NFL, and we have him right now, right?
Well, and I have to say this: look at his career. Look at the way that he used to, the way that he used to score in KC, and it was not as much of a straight ahead bomb kind of scenario like we're getting here. It was a lot of short things that he turned into long things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what I'm getting to in a very long-winded way is defenses, if they shut down Tariq, what happens, right?
Well,
and you could say that about every game.
Technically, we should have Waddle doing some shit there. And I'll tell you,
and he did. He had a 35-yard scamper.
Hey, the tight end did some shit on a few plays there. That game too.
Yeah. But what I'm getting to is, what do you think? Bill Belichick is famous for taking away.
He's gonna take away Tyreek.
Yes.
He's gonna put his fucking money down on this guy. Is not good. You need to beat me with somebody
another way. And this is what I'm getting.
Yeah. I'm not gonna let this guy. I know what this guy is. I know who he is. I know what he's done. You know what? You may beat me, but you're not gonna beat me with him. Beat me with somebody else.
You're gonna have to. Waddle's gonna have to beat you.
Yep.
Mozart's gonna have to beat me. I'm gonna take my chance.
Tua is gonna have to beat me. But
and there's going to be
we're not gonna give you Tyreek.
We're not going to let you close your eyes and chuck something up in the air.
You might get Tyreek for 60 yards, which is in other scenarios is a good game. 60 yards is an average of over 1,000 yards a year. But 60 yards is not Tua, is not Tua good. So, yeah, we're going to have to get something more.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And we'll see.
And just to come full circle and put a bow on it, as you were describing the Philadelphia Eagles, right? That they could beat you anyway. I don't think the Dolphins are like that.
Not right now, the way that running back room is, because who the fuck is healthy in that running back room? Everybody's hurt or out, right? Who's healthy?
I think maybe that guy Brooks and Salvon are probably the only ones that are not banged up. And they're what? Number 3 and 4 on the depth chart?
Yeah, it's not looking good. Now, Jalen Phillips is on the injury list. He's questionable, which that's bad. It's funny to say another player is also questionable. That's good. It's good that Teron Armstead is questionable, because that thing's maybe he could play, which I will say this: the offensive line sort of held up against the Chargers. It wasn't, a disaster.
It held up long enough for him to chuck the ball. And by the way, he did have some nice throws. I don't want to say that he just threw it up for grabs every time.
No, that last touchdown to Tyreek was a
nice
pass.
He had the guy covering him in the back of the end zone. It wasn't so much of a lobbing rainbow type thing. It was almost like a direct shot on the backside shoulder.
As much as I don't like this guy, I will have to say I am graduating to a point where I say he's not good enough. Then I say he's not going to be there because of injury. And then I say, well, he's not consistent enough. So the hurdles that this guy has to pass for me to kind of get on board is, are you consistent? Are you even there? Well, I guess that would be backwards. Are you there? And are you consistent enough?
Yeah.
So that's like the hurdles that he has to pass for me. And everybody trying to crown him, I'm like, check me in December. Is he there in December? Okay, that's number one. And is he good enough in December? Okay, good.
Yeah. And let me ask you another question. I remember before the season started, I think it may have been you, or I don't know if it was you or Chad, that was saying that you didn't really understand why they were even interested in Dalvin Cook, or then later Jonathan Taylor. I think it's clear now why they were interested in him.
I was always, I'll be honest, I was always a doubter on why we were trying to get those guys. Number one, because we had Mostert, we had Ahmed, we had the rookie Akane, we had Brooks. At the time, we still had Gaskin. We had Wilson, and the injuries weren't as disclosed as they are now. And
which they probably personally knew. And that's why they were.
I guess, it wasn't public knowledge. And then also because of my knowledge of their lack of commitment to the run. Like, why are you making such a big deal out of getting a running back when you haven't proven that you even use the ones you currently have? But, hindsight being 2020, I do understand why they were after those guys now.
And they're still being talked about, right? They're still being, every time.
We ran the ball 13 times on Sunday.
Yeah.
Running back runs. We had some Tua runs and shit, but like runs from the running back position, I believe it was 13 times.
I would be incredibly shocked, keeping in mind that Mac and Cheese played Philadelphia last week and lost.
Barely. It was a close game.
Well, initially they opened up like a 16-0 lead on the Patriots.
They got
but he threw the ball 54 times.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. And don't forget, why were they able to do that? Because they had Bill O'Brien back as the offensive coordinator. This fucking idiot finally gave up on trying to make the defensive coordinator the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and
remember last year they had Matt Patricia.
Yeah, and where is he at now? Is he in? He's somewhere, dude.
Yeah, not as an offensive guy.
No, but he's. Well, you know who the defensive coordinator of last night's game was, right?
Yeah, Brian Flores.
Yeah, but Patricia's working somewhere else this year. I can't fucking remember where. Let me look that up.
Let's see. Is he coaching like high school football?
No, he's in the NFL. I never understood that.
Oh my God. You know where he's at?
I don't know.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
As what?
He's a senior defensive assistant.
Okay, yeah, so that's why there was that they were talking about like he might have given some inside information on that first week's game. Yeah. So not even a coordinator. But look, Flores made it back. I say back. He was never really
the head coordinator. He wasn't a defensive coordinator. He was like a passing game coordinator, some shit like that.
Yeah, he never like had that full-blown title.
So I would be thoroughly shocked if this was another Charger shootout game. In fact, I would expect that it's going to be an ugly ass game, which doesn't favor Tua. Like a dirty, hard-nosed running, field goals, defense.
No, those are not his style of games.
And actually, it doesn't really benefit us right now either, just in general.
Yeah, from a personnel standpoint, absolutely not.
Yeah. It makes super sense to me that they would want to get Jonathan Taylor or Kareem Hunt. I don't understand why Kareem Hunt is still out there.
Yeah, me either. I don't see why he's not on a roster, to be honest.
I mean, even in a running back room where he's spelling the star or whatever, but
wow. I mean, teams are carrying 3 and 4 running backs.
Yeah, almost everybody is a committee unless you're Derrick Henry or or Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor when he was playing.
There's one other back, and I can't remember who's like sort of getting all the carries. You may know more than me that you're playing fantasy football, probably. There's like one back who's sort of like getting all the carries. Maybe
Nick Chubb.
Maybe, or a Cowboys running back this year. Maybe
Tony Pollard.
Yeah, maybe he's getting a big.
Yeah, they're up there. They're up there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And the other thing is, I mean, we haven't really done, even though last year we did beat Pittsburgh, which was a primetime game, but our primetime appearances have not been good.
Yeah, in the last decade or so, they have not been good.
And this is a Sunday night game.
I mean, traditionally, they've led to hospital visits, I think, from our players, if I recall correctly.
Usually we were checking out the local hospital in great detail.
Yeah, there ended up being upgrades in the fucking local medical facilities and reaction time during our primetime games. It's gonna be prime fucking time, and it's gonna be statement time. You know, like it'll be it'll be fucking Tuamania or it'll be, reality,
And isn't that Hurricane Lee gonna hit the New England area
Well,
or
that's funny that you mentioned that. That's next up on my list here.
natural disasters?
Hurricane Lee is in the Atlantic, creeping towards New England, where hurricane and tropical storm watches have been issued for much of the area's coastal residents. Forecasts show the storm could possibly make an impact on portions of New England as early as Friday, which is today. So I don't have the latest on this. The storm center is expected to pass close to the region's southeast before barreling near or over Maine in the Atlantic. So this may have already passed if it was going to pass through there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Category 2.
I just envision, from a game plan perspective, I think Belletbaum is gonna really dirty this up and slow it down and make it a defensive field goal fest. And then
that's his style.
And then if you have adverse weather conditions, I mean, I could see a very low scoring, tough game versus a shootout, but
that's the type of game we would lose if it ended up being like a 3 yards and a cloud of dust fucking game,
I mean, I actually now feel that if it was high scoring, I think it would favor us.
Sure, yeah, I would agree with that, but I would think the more he makes it an old school tough, 3 yards and a cloud of dust kind of fucking game, of course that would, he's done that before. We've seen him doing that before. So
dude, you know what's incredible? I mean, it's not incredible because we know, but I thought over time it would subside or maybe change. When I was looking at the injury report, fucking Devontae Parker, dude.
He was on their injury report?
Yeah, dude.
Incredible. Some things never change.
Exactly. That's fucking incredible. Usually that guy can't even break the tradition that, when you leave the Dolphins, you usually, your ailments go away and you're usually a better player and all that. He can't even follow that.
Is he gonna play though, or
he's listed as questionable? He didn't play in the first game. And they were really throwing a lot of shade at.
Do you have the injury report there? Can we share it?
I don't have it, but they were throwing a lot of shade on Juju Schuster because Juju Smith-Schuster, because supposedly, he had a shit game, and that was their free agent wide receiver signing.
He's a Patriot.
Yes.
That guy had sort of like a 1-year pop where everybody thought he was legit and then fell off and just kind of became like a soft number 2, right?
Yeah.
It looked like he was a number 1 for a minute. And then, you know what? As much as I hate the Steelers and as much as I hate that whole franchise and Tomlin, I got to tell you, man, like after seeing some of the antics of their players, like
outside of it, like
Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell,
yeah,
and like, this TikTok guy, dude, Tomlin kept that shit together, dude, as best
he was amazing.
Good. Yeah, dude.
By the way, I am looking at the injury report here, and one thing is their offensive line, the Patriots' offensive line is pretty banged up. Trent Brown, offensive tackle, concussion, status, questionable. City Sow, wow, guard, concussion, questionable. All these guys did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The center, David Andrews, hamstring, limited participation. He has no tag right now for game status. The other guard, Mike Honoré, limited participant, questionable. Devontae Parker, knee, limited practice, questionable. Cole Strange, guard. I think, dude, their whole starting lineup is questionable.
That's a lot of injuries on the offensive line.
Yes. Three guards, a center, and a tackle, all injured.
Maybe we are going to the Super Bowl, dude.
Easy, buddy. Oh, wow, but our injury list is longer.
Go ahead. What do we got?
Teron Armstead, offensive tackle, limited practice, questionable.
Well, that's an upgrade for him.
Oh my God, they listed his injuries: back, ankle, and knee.
Everybody part.
Yeah. Elijah Campbell, knee, limited practice, questionable. Julian Hill, tight end, ankle, limited practice, questionable. Jalen Phillips, back, limited practice on Friday, questionable. Devon Chain, shoulder, full participant. Why would they list him then on the injury report? Xavier Howard, thumb, full participant. I'm not sure. I guess maybe they were injured at some point.
Yeah, if you're a full participant, you're usually playing, right?
Yeah. Brandon Jones, when is that guy coming back?
It seems like never.
Full participant. Raheem Mostert did not practice Wednesday. Full participant on Thursday and Friday. Jalen Waddle, oblique, limited practice. Connor Williams, knee, full participant. I guess I'm curious why they list the full participants. I guess they were injured at some point, and now they're showing that they're able to. So the key,
practice.
Yeah. So the key to the injury report here is that the Patriots' offensive line is in shambles.
Well, that's a good sign for us.
And our secret weapon, Devontae Parker, is also hurt.
He'll come back and go for at least 100, dude. That's standard operating procedure.
Any other thoughts about the first week of the NFL? Anything that caught your eye? Anything that didn't catch your eye?
Let's see. I mean, the Giants were just fucking atrocious, dude. I have not seen a worse display of football than I did on that fucking Monday night game. That was just awful. Awful. They had, I heard people talking about the Giants, and I even jumped on the fucking train thinking they might do something. That was bad. What else did I see week 1?
What about the Bills? Is that window closing in a hurry for them?
Yep. I did notice that. The rookies seem, while they didn't always win, they seem to have a good showing. Some of the rookies, quarterback for the Colts, I saw some good stuff there.
That guy Richardson for the Colts looks like another possible Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. You really got to throw week 1 out the window sometimes, like
especially now, because that's really like the 4th preseason game.
Yeah, these guys haven't really fucking played much. It's sort of a throwaway.
Bungles look pretty bad too.
Yeah, but at the same token, they could just bounce back and go on. You never know. You never fucking know, dude. You gotta watch some more. I'm just waiting to see who's gonna convince Tom Brady, because you hear a lot of Tom Brady talk, right?
Yeah,
And then
I
you
heard
hear,
it with the Jets.
yeah, and then you hear, oh, Tom Brady's a partial owner of the Raiders. He can't come back. Well, guess what? They haven't approved his partial ownership of the Raiders yet, so he could come back because he's not yet a partial owner of the Raiders.
I'll tell you, but you're not suggesting that he would come to the Raiders, right?
No, I'm just suggesting that that was a roadblock.
That's not really a roadblock. Gotcha.
Yeah, they a lot of people are saying he can't come back because he is a partial owner of the Raiders. Which, what the hell did they do? They won, right?
They won. They beat the Broncos by like a point or something.
Right. No, but people are talking about the Jets. Obviously, that was the first, Jets. Are they calling Brady? And then people say,
I will say, I will say, dude, the Jets have a good team, dude. They truly are missing just a quarterback. that defense is top 5, top 3 easily. They have great skilled players. I could see him, man. That's like, it's almost like a softball ready to be hit out of the park, man.
I could see them still being good, man. Even with this guy,
it'll be tough.
I mean, the Bills,
they're gonna be in games because of that defense.
They just beat the Bills, right?
Yes.
The Dolphins, come on, man. We know. The Patriots are down. The Patriots are not the Patriots from before.
No.
Even with that guy, Wilson. They could still do it. They could still win the division. They have receipts, man.
And coupons.
Yeah. All right, what else do we have here? Pentagon is appointing a watchdog team in Ukraine to monitor ongoing U.S. security assistance as a growing number of Republicans call for more oversight into how the money is being used. U.S. aid to Ukraine has totaled more than $43.7 billion since the start of the Biden administration, and the president has vowed to continue providing aid for as long as it takes, quote unquote. The establishment of a new oversight team follows criticism from GOP lawmakers who believe some of the funds are being wasted or abused. Experts say the Pentagon has improved its ability to monitor transfers of weapons and equipment to Ukraine, but the military did struggle to effectively oversee the shipments when the war began. What do you think about that? Bum? I can't hear you for some reason. Hold on.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I said I am torn on that subject.
Elaborate.
I feel really uncomfortable about the amount of money that we're sending to them. But I also believe that China is watching, and if we would have let Putin completely do whatever he wanted, I think it would have set precedents and emboldened them as it relates to Taiwan. And I think the world outside of us, too, believes that Putin had to be, at least have a speed bump and not just let him do what he wanted to do here.
Do you think their points have been made though, even if you were of that, or do you keep pouring money into this?
I think it would be great if we started to pull away the financial aid, you know, in the quantities that we're doing now. I think the oversight that they're talking about, I think it's stupid that it's being talked about now and not that what it wasn't in place from the beginning. It
Right.
should have been in place from the beginning.
Sure.
And I think that you know, we should probably be leading some type of effort to have a peaceful end to that, if that's even possible.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man. When I saw, I don't remember who her name is. It was a young gal interviewing Trump a couple of months ago or whatever, and she was kind of trying to back him into a corner, like, who do you want to win this war? And he just kept saying, you know what? I want people to stop dying. I want there to be people to stop dying. And it's kind of crazy that would be controversial, but it's actually like the best outcome where, like, yeah, he said, I'll end this war in a couple of days. Well, obviously, you know, he likes to exaggerate, right? You know, but I think that's the right frame of mind. Like, let's fucking stop this shit. You know, let's
Yeah,
stop
no,
people from dying. Let's stop,
yeah,
all this bullshit. That should be
I,
the goal.
I would agree.
How can we stop this?
That's the problem.
But there doesn't seem to be any. That doesn't seem to be the idea.
That's not a track. No.
The idea seems to be, let's keep this going. Let's keep pumping money, and let's keep, let's prolong this thing, which is just more people dying, more suffering.
Well, I don't know how they could prolong it. I think they're supporting a country that doesn't have a decisive military.
And that guy's coming here now, right? To, like, sort of campaign for more money.
Well, yeah, he did that. I think, didn't he he showed up at one of the State of the Unions or something to
in the last couple of days?
No, I think it was last year, maybe the year before.
No,
I'm not
like,
sure.
It's about to happen if it didn't already. Like, he's coming back.
I know, yeah, and we went over there, and Blinken was over there just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he was blinking.
So I'm torn, man. I really don't like endless supplies of money and ammunition and weapons just without an end. That bothers me. But by the same token, I think that if you would have sat on the sidelines on this, it would have been as worse or worse.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I just see the amount of money going in there, and I'm like, fuck.
But it's all fake shit, anyways. I mean, I don't. How could a company that's so in debt like us just keep shoveling money out? It's monopoly money.
Yeah, but we just get more and more in the hole, more and more in the hole, more and more in the hole.
Yeah.
Hey, Guns N' Roses were at Hard Rock Stadium tonight. Tickets were starting at $350. Are you a Guns N' Roses fan?
I do. I love them. I don't know what this incarnation of them, what it sounds like or looks. A lot of times that, that is certainly not what they used to be. I think they have everybody but the guy, obviously, that passed away. Was he a guitar player? Maybe not Edge, or I mean, not Slash.
Well, they definitely have Axel, Slash. Duff's alive. I don't know if he's with them. Duff McCannigan, and I don't know who the drum player is. I don't know.
Or maybe it was the drummer that. Anyways, yeah, I'm a fan. I haven't
Mama, put my guns in the ground.
I don't know what Disincarnation sounds like.
I can't shoot.
I love them
anymore. Now, of that era, where would you rank them? And when I say of that era is what, like mid 80s to early 90s is their heyday?
I thought it was late 80s to early 90s.
Okay, so even shorter. Let's say in that era, where would you rank? Who ranks above them? Let's say that.
I think specifically of that time, as far as they were before Nirvana, right?
Yes.
So
their end was sort of Nirvana's beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that as a pure, rock band, I think they may have owned that time almost by themselves, in my opinion.
I mean, Metallica will give them a run for their money.
Yeah.
I'm wondering who else other than Metallica.
I have to tell you though, but for me, that's more of a thing where I like Guns N' Roses more than Metallica, and I know a lot of people think that I'm crazy, but I do.
Oh, Metallica's so good, dude.
I didn't say they were bad. I'm just
no. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're so good, dude. Like technically, and I know Slash is a fucking beast, but Hetfield is not. He's probably like one of the better accompany guitarist.
Rhythm guitarist.
Yeah, then he's probably the best, dude. I don't know who's better than him. Who would you say is better than him?
Than who?
Than Hetfield as a rhythm guitarist. That's a tough one.
Yeah, no. They're good. There's no doubt about that.
But outside of Metallica, I don't know who you could put up against in that era, right? In that little era that we're talking about, late 80s, early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, their Guns N' Roses is fucking prime. That's their prime.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about them is they were good. Their heyday was also when MTV was still significant and what we knew MTV and liked about MTV. So they were sort of probably in that last part of MTV where people
tail end,
where people remembered MTV as playing, real videos, music videos versus all the bullshit that they started to do. I don't know if I consider Metallica an MTV band. I mean, I remember seeing them on MTV, but I think it was already more, it was starting to,
I mean, I remember like towards the tail end, Sandman, dum 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 dum. That was a big video, and they had that whole album. But that was when they went a little bit more commercial than like Master of Puppets and all that shit. But they were on MTV, but it was more later when they found out, oh shit, here's where you want to be, and I don't know how. I'm saying that as an outsider, but it seemed like a lot of people got on that bandwagon like, oh shit, you got to be on MTV to be fucking hot. But all that aside, technically, musically speaking, when you listen to fucking Metallica, just fucking really fucking badass, dude. Really. People will give, you're a drummer. What do you think about Lars? I know a lot of people shit on him.
Yeah, I mean, that band, I don't think he's like a guy that people speak of as an individual drummer,
Right.
For example, there's people that hate Rush, but know that Neil Peart was a great drummer. Mm-hmm. I think you know, there's a lot of people that know that Metallica is a good band, but don't necessarily say that Lars is one of the best drummers. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like if it were a football team and he were the running back, and you know,
Yeah.
Hetfield was a quarterback, and you know, fucking Hammett was a receiver, you know, you would say this is their weak, but adequate enough to make a fucking
no doubt.
One
No
of the
doubt.
fucking legitimate badass fucking all-time bands, you know. I appreciate that band.
I do like them. I think what a lot of like rock and roll snobs will say is that that's the heavy band that pedestrian fans also, you know, like they have fans, like if, you know, if somebody's not really into rock or heavy metal, that's somebody that they'll know. That's the band they'll know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. All that aside, they also, in their little mini genre, which was like fucking metal, like there wasn't many bands you could say
No.
they're better than them at that little thing that they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know what sucks? I mean, what sucks now is that there isn't anybody really new in any, like, who's the new Guns N' Roses? Who's the new Metallica? Who's the new any of those things? You really don't see it now.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Tool. Tool is great. And, but it's kind of hard to find that stable of good bands in that genre like there was.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
we're old.
It's almost like a dying, I hate to say it, but you know, more pop, you know, music, it's more pop and, you know, that type of stuff than standard heavy bands and musicians and stuff like that. I mean,
I don't know, man. Like, you listen to some fucking Metallica, dude, and it's dope, dude. You could tell that there's some good music writing and guitar play and just lyrics. You know, as far as lyrics, I don't. When I think of Metallica, I think of fucking heavy guitar play and fast, heavy
riffs.
Yeah, fast, heavy guitar riffs, and you know, with some bass play, and then I think of the fucking lyrics, and then I think of you know what I mean? Like those are like secondary, but like that just overtakes the whole thing for them when I listen to their music, and one of my favorites personally.
Yeah, no, solid band. And then, you know, too, a lot of that is judged by not necessarily, and we've talked about this before, not necessarily who is technically capable or truly good or sold most albums. It's usually about where that soundtrack is in your life, right? Like, how old were you the moment that music made an impression on you? You know, sometimes there's bands that people talk about, like, oh my God, this is the best band. And you're like, eh? And when you examine it closely, it was because either you were too young or too old and really never listened to them.
Sure.
It wasn't in the sweet spot of you growing up. But when you look at a lot of the bands or music that you listen to, the ones that you gravitate towards or like to highlight as saying, oh man, these people were the best, is typically in that sweet spot of when you were growing up. And
absolutely that's one though that, like, you also have to, when you make those personal, they're very personal decisions too, because you know, for me, this band could be the greatest, and you could say, yeah, they're okay, or you could say this is the greatest. I'm like, they're okay. But you also have to make a balance, like, okay, in that era in my life, and then you have to measure, like, okay, forget about in that era in your life. Are these people really great? And I still kind of think that that particular band is one of the all time greats.
Well,
Yes,
absolutely.
it's not for everybody. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody. Because if I play fucking Sanitarium or whatever, oh my god, this song is such a fucking downer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but still, there's a fucking whole element to that. It's a beautiful song in a way, you know. Yes, it's sad and all this shit.
Yeah, but the other thing that's happened to that music and a lot of those bands is that because there hasn't been any new up and coming, they've survived. They've been able to survive because the music is obviously good, but there isn't anything to dethrone them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, remember Nirvana when they came out initially? What was that genre?
grunge.
But there was another name for it too that they fell under. If you were to categorize them, what would you categorize them as a genre other than grunge? Because
Well,
grunge
that's
kind of
the
came later.
well that's the one that always gets associated to.
Well, yeah, that's like the sort of modern day term for that. But at the time, they don't even use this name that much as of late. They would call them alternative.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what's alternative mean?
By the way, I don't think of those bands. I personally would have never used that.
But that back in the day, that was the name for that whole genre. And what is alternative?
I think of a whole different kind of music when that word is used.
That's what they were called, though. And what's alternative? Something away from the mainstream, right? An
Yes.
alternative, right? Like something else. Here's something else. Well, that something else became mainstream. So much as like we're still talking about Nirvana today. You know? I don't know what I was getting at with that, but
Yeah, their Wikipedia states Nirvana's success popularized alternative rock.
right. And alternative rock was like a different type of rock than we were used to.
Yeah, but it's in my mind, I get you're dead on to the Wikipedia definition. So what you're saying is dead on. I'm not debating that, but personally in my head, it's not what I think of. And what is alternative rock stylistically based on Wikipedia? It's punk rock, post punk, new wave, and hardcore punk.
That's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's basically just like we're shaking it up. Here's something different. And granted, yeah, they set like a new. It's almost like when you go back to Dr. Dre and you know his solo album, like he kind of fucking changed the game with the G Funk era and all that shit. You know, it was something new at the time that sort of set a new standard. But when you look at it back now, 30 something years later, they don't really call it alternative anymore because it's kind of what set the fucking.
And again, I already
new thing.
yeah, and again, I already said what you said is I'm reading it right here, and the definition of alternative rock. So I'm not debating that. It's just not what would register in my personal head. In my head, when I think of alternative, I would think Dream Syndicate, 10,000 Maniacs, the Violent Femmes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's probably
So
more alternative. But
that's how I thought of it.
at the time, it was sort of lumped in with that.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
With that sort of thing. Over
Everything
time,
here that you're saying is is clearly. I'm looking at it now. One band that gets
I
thrown
love
in
me
there,
some Violent Femmes, dude.
yeah, one and another band that gets thrown into that is REM.
Definitely under that alternative umbrella.
But that's the alternative kind of that I think about. Of course, The Cure.
Yeah, it was the Smiths, probably.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah. That's probably more of the traditional alternative. But at the time, they were lumped into that until, this is the beginning of the grunge era
Right.
with Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, all this new sound. But it was still, at that time, they didn't have that grunge term,
And
Sonic
it was
Youth.
yeah. And that's you mentioned Soundgarden,
Mm-hmm.
and it was around that time when those bands came out that I felt, oh wow, because there was a time that I thought like rock and roll was gonna die,
Mm.
and when those bands came out, I said, oh well, this is a little different, but I think there's essence of it. I like
Stone
this.
Temple.
Love
Sorry,
Stone Temple Pilots.
not Stone Temple. Who am I thinking of? Yeah, those two. But Smashing Pumpkins.
Smashing Pumpkins, and
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, there was even In Excess you could probably throw in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's and I was saying, oh wow, there is a chance this thing isn't going to die, but then it actually did die. I think. I mean,
It just transformed. It transformed into that metal. What do they call that? Like Limp Bizkit. Sort of. What do they call new metal? That new metal era. Linkin Park.
Yes.
All that.
I also categorize it as it would be like a rock band playing with a DJ throwing a backtrack on it.
Yeah, because they sort of transition in that era to metal with a DJ, and maybe let's throw in some fucking hip hop into this because hip hop is fucking huge. So
Yeah.
the lead singer oftentimes was sort of kind of rapping kind of style, and there was some sort of beat, but there was still a bass, and there was still a drummer, and there was still a guitarist and shit. I mean, I do like new metal too, man. I'll admit I don't hate on that shit.
I'll tell you, changing subjects, obviously we're talking about major, super famous real legends and all that, but one thing about I don't know if you've ever heard Mary's Brothers band, the Spam All Stars, dude.
Yeah,
that
sure.
was kind of that's cool because they took that they have like a Afro-Caribbean, Cuban, a little bit of rock kind of sounds, and then they threw the DJ backtrack on it, and that is really fucking badass, dude. It's cool stuff, really cool stuff. I never thought I would have liked the DJ on, a band in the background like that. Some other bands had done it. You mentioned a few of them. But by that time, I really didn't like that. I was still looking for the traditional rock, so I didn't like so much the Limp Bizkits and stuff like that. But I later appreciated some of those techniques.
Oh, I was a fan of Limp Bizkit, and they used Cypress Hills. I believe it was Cypress Hills DJ.
I love Cypress Hill.
I believe they used him, DJ Muggs, or was it Muggs? I'm not sure.
And Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy was great too.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit just evolves, dude. You either evolve with it or don't. It just sort of seems like it stopped evolving at some time.
Well, but yeah, now you're saying what I said. Well, it feels like, I mean, like who's the new Metallica? Who's the new Guns N' Roses? Who's the new dude? Look, technically they weren't as good, but if you wanted to see a band that was like super fun and everywhere you turn is water wall hot chicks, Motley Crue dude, was great.
There's a documentary on them, I think, somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, what's their greatest hits?
Well, they had a couple of different times, right? And you know, the interesting there, that band, you know, they never had like changes in the band. But they had a couple of different levels when they first came out, you know, with Shout at the Devil and man, what was that video? I could picture the video. I can't think of the lyrics now. And then later they made, you know, the Dr. Feelgood and the, you know, they had like different times,
different eras. Yeah.
Yeah, of their own music that, you know, you gotta remember they were a painted band like Kiss with the whole painted persona.
Yeah.
Which was unusual because that was only a Kiss thing. When they first came out, they were you know.
There was a weird little era there where like their hair was like chicks and they wore eyeliner and
well,
everybody.
That was the whole hair band thing.
But they were kind of involved in that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they
like
I think
Poison and all that shit.
Yes. I think when they started to get compared to Poison and Winger and all that shit and Striker and all I think that's when they took the makeup off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the hair was long, but not like spiked up and teased.
Not full of hairspray. Yeah.
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 Bon Jovi.
It was a weird little era where they looked like chicks, dude.
Oh yeah. Honest. Yeah.
They all looked like fucking chicks, dude. Which was weird.
What's that? You've got the looks that kill. That they look like chicks there.
Yeah, and like Twisted Sister, they fucking definitely look like chicks, dude.
Yeah. They tried to be the guys that painted themselves but still be tough.
Yeah. We're not gonna take it.
Yeah. I'm trying let's see.
$350 if you wanted to see Guns N' Roses tonight.
What a deal.
All right. I only got a couple more things here.
I decided to spend my night with you. How about that?
Good for you. There was some cyber attacks, bum.
Yes. MGM.
MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment are recovering from cyber attacks.
They still have problems.
You know what I say?
What's that?
I say fuck them.
Oh.
I say fuck them. You know how much money I've lost?
Right?
To Las Vegas? Fuck them. You need to fucking allocate more funds to this fucking situation if you're going to be stealing people's money.
Did you read about the attack and what happened?
Well, I'll read you what I have here if you will.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment are recovering from cyber attacks this week that tested the computer defenses of multi-billion-dollar hotels in Las Vegas. Hackers stole Social Security and driver's license numbers from a significant number of loyalty program customers of Caesars Entertainment. The hospitality giant said Thursday. At MGM Resorts, guests reported being unable to make room charges and access their rooms with their digital keys. The issues were a result of a cyber security issue and systems are operational again, MGM said. It currently remains unclear who was responsible for the pair of attacks. Now, separately, I read that they were willing to pay like half of a ransom that was asked of them, but I don't know if that's factual or not.
Yes. So there's this there's a bulletin that I receive called, I think it's called dark reading, which is, it tells you about all these attacks. And ultimately what they try to do is they get into the detail of, how they did it. So you could, be aware and know how to defend against that. But this one supposedly was done through social engineering. So
what is social engineering?
Social engineering in the cyber world is when you basically find out information about somebody, and then it may be like, I start talking to you, hey Randy, like, this guy over there in IT, like, what's his name again? And like, I don't know anything about it. I'm just trying to find out information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what these people did was they went to like LinkedIn and they started to do searches like who is the head of IT at MGM, right? Like they started a search, administrator, and try to find like the person's name, which is pretty easy to do. They found the person's name. Oh, this guy is chief network engineer. Okay, his name is Joe Blow. Okay.
So we're gonna say Joe Biden.
This guy sounds like, based on his position, I don't know him, but based on his title, that he probably has administrative access. So then they go to the website and they try to find out like the help desk phone number or email, right? So then they called the help desk as Joe Blow and said, hey, I need my password reset.
Wow. And they fell for it?
And apparently, they didn't have the proper check. So, like for instance, like what we do in my company, and I'm not going to say the specifics, but we have other, like if you call, we have ways to confirm that it's you.
Sure.
Right? We just don't say, oh, Joe Blow, you need your passwords? No problem.
They would ask you what your favorite bourbon is. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
What is your favorite bourbon?
Wow. I don't think I could pick one.
Right now, if they were to say, hey, man, you pick your favorite bourbon, dude. What is it? What do you want? What do you want on the table?
I think of so many different, like if it's categories. Favorite, go-to, cheap.
No, just right now. Hey, what do you want?
I'd probably say Eagle Rare.
All right, I'm with you.
But you know what I mean? I like so many that I'd break it down in categories. Cheapest house, Woodford Reserve.
Right.
Expensive, hard to find, X, like that. But anyways. So they got hacked that way. Through that engineering, like figuring out, let me do some scouting here.
Now, did you hear about the ransom that they paid or agreed to pay?
I did not hear that part.
Yeah. I heard, I don't know the latest, but I heard they had agreed to pay a pretty big ransom.
I guess the other thing too, when I think about it, and I can't remember reading in the article, I guess they don't have multi-factor authentication there.
I don't know.
So, like in my company, we have an app, right, on our phones where when I go to log into a system, it sends a code to my phone, and I have to put that code into the application. So unless you have my phone, you would not be able to log in as me.
You want me to be honest with you? I had a couple of scenarios just in the last week where maybe 3 scenarios. It's gotten so crazy that like you don't realize when you're wrong as a user, and you're arguing with the provider over your credentials, and then later you realize, oh my God, I'm totally wrong. Yeah. It happened to me this week 3 times on separate things over issues, passwords, or different things, because what I remember when passwords came to be, which was obviously the early onset of you thought a password was always like, okay, this is it, this is the key to my house, right?
Yeah.
No, fuck that. The key to your house now, wait a second, you need to change this key to your house all the time, and you need to make this key to your house as elaborate as possible,
Yep.
And it's a lot to keep up with, especially when you're logging into countless websites, systems.
Well, they do have password managers to help you with that.
Yes, but it's a nightmare, dude. To be honest, like
Have you looked into using one of those?
No, I don't think I have.
You should look into it.
I should.
It's basically it's basically a place where you can manage all your passwords. So you're not writing pieces of paper. It's all in one place, and you can get to it easily.
I'll look into it.
And you could sync it to the websites that you use anyway. So, having said that, some of those password managers have been hacked.
Yeah.
There's no safe place. Hey, look.
That's my idea.
If the government gets hacked and they have the greatest technology in the world, like, what chance do we have?
None.
But just because that happens, it doesn't mean you have to leave your door unlocked, right? You still lock it.
Yeah.
Even though you know that people could easily unlock your door, break your alarm, whatever, you still don't leave everything just wide open.
My dad always, you make it a little bit more difficult for the thief. You don't.
You try to get rid of, you try to prevent the lazy thief, the criminal of opportunity that just walks around checking doors to be unlocked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the only other 2 things I have tonight is Johnson & Johnson is replacing its iconic logo. They are replacing their logo, which has been in use for 135 years. Did you hear about this?
I didn't, but maybe they're trying to wipe the stench of the talcum powder.
That's what I said. I said, fuck, maybe they're going to try to make people forget their balls were on fire, And then, of course, the last thing I have is, and then you can add to this at the end if you have anything else. Hunter Biden was indicted for allegedly lying about his drug use on federal form when buying a gun in 2018. Tell the truth, motherfuckers, when you're buying weapons. That's the last 2 things I had.
Excellent.
You got anything else?
Well, I think we had an exchange about the booster. The boosters came out for the new variant.
Well, I texted you. This is always a point between us.
I did respond.
Yes, you did. Yeah, they recommended like anybody who hasn't had a shot in the last 2 months to get a new shot. And I guess there's some it considers some new variant that came recently. But man, how many people do you know that have gotten critically ill of late of COVID?
Of late?
Yeah. That are not 100 years old. Because if you're 100 years old, anything is like a bad fart is a problem.
Yeah, the last one. There was my mother last year, but she's 100 years old, and there was a couple guys. There was a guy at work, but I wouldn't say he's not obese or super fat. He's probably slimmer than us, but I think he may have had another medical issue or something.
So not a lot.
I mean, when you ask the question as you did, and then put additional qualifiers like he can't be old, he can't have diseases, then it becomes less.
Do you want to pick the week 2 games? We weren't that good in week 1, by the way.
We sucked.
Pretty much, dude. I think we both had.
I'm sorry. One thing more on the whole vaccine thing.
Yeah.
Did you see Megyn Kelly come out and say that her doctor told, like, she went to the doctor?
Who's Megyn Kelly? First of all, hold on.
Megyn Kelly is the hot blonde from. They used to be on Fox. Who got it? She's conservative. Got into it with Trump during one of the debates. She has her own podcast, right? She was slamming Fauci and all that, and she was slamming Trump because he elevated Fauci so much. But what I was going to say is she went to the doctor and she admitted that this is all PHI or HIPAA stuff, but I guess if she releases it, it's not a bad thing. She went to the doctor, I guess, for a physical or whatever, and she tested as autoimmune. And the doctor is saying that because she took the vaccine, that was the cause of her now being autoimmune compromised.
Oh my God.
So she talked about that. When you get a chance, look at her podcast is on YouTube, but she goes into the whole thing and then she unloads on Fauci and all that. So it's kind of interesting. Week 2.
You want to pick the games?
All right, we could do that.
All right. Let me see if I can share this.
So, do you know what our record was?
I can share it next week, but I'm pretty sure that me and you had losing records and Tank had a winning record.
Oh, wow. So that's why you don't want to share it. Got it.
No, I just don't have it with me.
Okay.
I mean, like, I was pretty bad. I was 5-8 or something like that. And I think you were slightly better, but not winning. And I think me and you were a push on Thursday nights. I think we both took the Eagles. And
yeah, we did.
Even though what I have on the screen shows 6.5, when we picked them, there were 6, and it was a push. And then besides that, after that, we have the Raiders, and they're at the Bills.
By the way, a lot of weird things happen in week 1. So,
like what? Like what?
Well, let's think about it, right? The Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs lost.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I think the Chiefs threw that game.
Okay. We'll have to examine that on another show.
I mean, 4th and 20. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I've never seen that.
Here's the scoreboard of week 1, by the way, before we get into the week 2 picks. So you had the Cowboys absolutely. I'm taking it from the most recent back. Cowboys absolutely obliterated the Giants. Just absolutely. Yes. And somehow the Jets found a way to win that game against the Bills.
I think they'll settle down. That was an emotionally charged game. And think about it. The kicker for the Bills needed a 50-yard field goal doink to tie the game, and then a punt return in overtime won it. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's a lot of fucking strange shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost throw out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. These first 2 were Lions beat the Chiefs, Bengals beat the Browns. This went exactly the way that anybody thought it would be. The Ravens just unloaded on the Texans.
Yes.
This one went the wrong way for most of us. Most of us thought the
absolutely.
Vikings.
That's another strange one.
Yep. Falcons beat the Panthers by a couple of touchdowns. Most people probably didn't think this game would be as close as it was. The Commanders beat the Cardinals 2016. Jaguars eventually, even though it was dicey.
Yes.
For a little while, they end up beating the Colts by 10. Niners just owned the Steelers. Some people thought the Steelers would keep this closer. At home, right?
Yeah, I was one of them. I expected the 49ers to win, but I thought the Steelers would play a lot better.
Yeah, I think I picked the Steelers in that game. Most people thought the Titans would beat the Saints, but Tannehill just
awful. Like 198 yards for 3 picks.
Well, that's exactly.
It was all field goals.
That's exactly what it was. 198 yards, 3 picks, 16 for 34. Henry had 63 yards on 15 carries, but yeah. I mean, if Tannehill just sort of plays even a average game, they win that game.
Yeah.
The Raiders beat the Broncos by 1. Most people picked the Broncos there.
The Rams was a surprise, beating the Seahawks and as handily as they did.
Exactly. Yeah. 30-13. Even the Dolphins were a bit of a surprise, underdog.
I would say it was a surprise, and I think a lot of people thought the Giants were going to be, turning the corner, and they got absolutely raped.
Definitely not 40-0. I don't remember the point spread, but the Packers won this game handily, and then of course the Jets.
Justin Fields is looking like a bust, huh?
I don't know. I'm not ready to say that, but it was not a good outing. All right, so to pick the rest of these games, first up, Raiders, Bills. Bills are favored by 8.5.
This is the biggest point spread of the week, I believe.
8.5? Is it really?
I believe so. It was 10 earlier.
No, the Jets at the Cowboys are 9.5. Cowboys are favored by 9.5.
Okay, I guess it changed because I saw it when it was like 10 for the Raiders or for the Bills. I will take the Bills in a bounce back.
Bills. I think the Bills will win, but I think the Raiders will cover. Next up, Bears at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers by 2.5.
I'll take the Bucs.
I'm going to go with the Bears. Bears. Seahawks are at the Lions. Lions are favored by 5.5.
That's a lot.
Yep.
I'm gonna still take the Lions.
I'm gonna go Seattle on that one.
I think that's probably the smarter move, but
Next up, Chargers favored by 3 at the Titans.
man, the Chargers, that they have the better quarterback. They gotta bounce back. I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Colts are favored by 1.5 at the Titans.
Wow. These next two games are horrible to pick.
Yeah.
They're almost a pick 'em.
Yep. I'll go Titans on this. They're going to bounce back.
Wait, we picked that already. You just said Colts.
What's that?
You mean Texans?
Colts at Texans. I'm sorry.
Yes. You're taking the Texans?
No, I'm taking the Colts.
I'll take the Colts too there.
Yeah. I'm drunk. Sorry.
I wouldn't have never noticed.
All right. Packers are favored by 1 at the Falcons.
Another fucking pick 'em game.
The Packers did well week 1.
Yes, but so did the Falcons.
Yeah. This is where you start getting into conundrums.
Yes. And I'll take the Packers because I think they have a slight edge at quarterback.
I'm with you there. Next up, Ravens at the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 3.5.
We're going to find out who's who here. You
Yeah.
know, the Ravens open up and blow away the Texans. The Bengals lay an egg. Who's really good here? Who's
This is
the
a
real
toughie.
good-
Division game. Always a tough game. I'll take the Ravens based on the spread. I'm not even sure if they'll win, but
I'll take the Bengals.
all right. Next up, we got the Chiefs. They're favored by 3.5 at the Jaguars.
I gotta tell you, I like the Jaguars, man. That's a nice the way they're building that team, but I don't like them in this game. I gotta think Kelsey will play, they'll bounce back, and the Chiefs will win. But I do like what's happening with Sunshine, the coach that maybe we should have gotten. I like I like what the Jaguars are doing.
All right. I'm with you on that one too. Niners are favored by 7.5 at the Rams.
This is a division game. It used to mean something. I'll take, you know what? I'll take the 49ers. I don't know if it'll be by 7.5, but I'll take them.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams for shits and giggles. Giants somehow are favored by 5.5 at the Cardinals. Fuck these fucking Giants, dude. I'm taking the Cardinals.
I'll take the Cardinals too.
Even though they're supposed to have been fucking tanking this year. Did they win week 1?
No, they lost to the Commanders.
Okay, but not by much, right?
No, it was close. Dude, they had like a ton of sacks too. Where's boy, that fucking Cliff Kingsbury left that thing in shambles, dude.
Dude, I saw that guy on the sideline of like USC. I didn't know he I forgot he had gotten fired, dude. You want to hear a funny story? I was sitting here watching late night college football on Saturday, and I turned on my jacuzzi so I can get into it to watch like the last game of the evening. and my jacuzzi has this sound of the bubbles. It sounds like a marching band. And I was like, oh my God, what football team is playing? I kept thinking there was a marching band playing. It was just my jacuzzi sort of fucking throwing bubbles. But like for
wow, you're going to have to show me that, because how does a jacuzzi sound like a marching band?
Dude, it sounded for 2 hours. I was trying to figure out what football team is playing in my area that there's marching band, but it was just the bubbles.
So how does your jacuzzi sound like? Dun, 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 dun.
You got to throw in like a lot of whiskey into it, and then like also with the jacuzzi, and then you'll get the whole thing.
Okay, never mind. Everything makes sense now.
Yeah, you gotta
disregard my question.
Yeah, everything's got to be together. All right, Jets at Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 9.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jets here. I think they have
too.
a good defense, and I don't think they're gonna. The Cowboys are classic chokers.
Yeah. All right, we're in unison there. Next up, we got the Commanders.
Wow.
And they're at the Broncos. Broncos are favored by 3.5.
Dude, did Russell Wilson play any better in this first game? I mean, they lost.
They lost a close game, right?
Yeah, I don't know what his stats were, but dude, I think he's on life support. I think we're going to see a quarterback change here soon.
Oh, my God. Where's that game? Right here.
Oh, there
Raiders,
it is.
Broncos. Russell Wilson was 27 of 34. That's a pretty good completion percentage. For 177, not a lot of yards. 2 touchdowns.
No turnovers.
Yeah, no
or
picks.
at least not no picks. Maybe he had fumbles.
Yeah, who knows? It seems like there's a lot of short passes.
Yeah.
Not a great running game.
No.
And not a lot of yards receiving.
And your most receptions were 5? Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. 6.8 a reception from Troutman. So who are you taking here? Commanders, Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5.
They're playing at home. The Broncos have a decent defense. I guess I'll take the Broncos.
So will I. Next up after that, we've got Sunday Night Football. Dolphins on the road, favored by 3 at New England. I don't know when the last time we fucking saw that was.
Well, there's 2 statistics here that are at odds. Number 1, Tua's undefeated against the Patriots.
Oh
that's like
God.
the kiss. That's like the kiss of death.
Oh my God.
Number 2 is they don't have a great road prime time record is pretty bad. I'd say prime time road game even worse. I'll take the Patriots.
Yeah, me too.
And a slog.
Is there 2 Monday night games?
Yes.
What the fuck is up with that?
They usually do that the first week, but I guess this year they're trying it in the second week.
Saints are favored by 3 at the Panthers.
I'll take the Saints.
So will I. Who's the Panthers quarterback again?
The other midget, the Tua Part 2.
Oh my God, yeah.
What's that guy's name? Bryce
Harper. Bryce Young.
Bryce Harper, isn't that a baseball player?
Yeah. No, Bryce Young. Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Browns are favored by 2 at the Steelers.
Wow, this is another tough game. The Steelers own the Browns. They don't have Deontay Johnson. You know what? I'll take the Steelers.
I'll take the Browns to be different. And that's week 2.
Week 2 in the books.
That's it. All right, Bum. Anything else on your mind?
I think we've covered the full gambit of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't recall anything
Have you
else.
watched any Ahsoka?
I have not.
I haven't caught up, but
Have you seen any of them?
I saw like the first 2 episodes.
What'd you think?
They're okay.
Better what you expected, better than expected, worse than you expected?
Nothing earth-shattering, just sort of kind of what I thought was coming.
Did the kids like it?
Yeah, but not like sort of. We watched the first 2 episodes. I think they're up to episode 5 or 6. Nobody's been like clamoring, like, "Hey, we gotta watch the next." We've fallen behind like 3 weeks already without anybody sort of, really putting pressure to catch up on it.
I see.
Yeah, but the nerds seem to be enthused. But
They're always going to be enthused.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, Bruno just recently started telling me like that the movies suck and that he's sad that no good movies are going to be coming out anytime soon.
What is their strategy? Where are they going to go from now? I heard something that they were going to center around the girl in the last one. What was it?
Ray?
Ray,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's off.
No more?
Yeah, I think that's off the table. There was 3 ideas. One was a Mandoverse sequel to sort of wrap that up with Dave Filoni, which that was the most promising of them all. Another one was Daisy, sort of what happens to her. I don't even remember what the fucking third one was, but that was sort of the 3 things on the table. So we'll see. Filoni's good. Filoni's Clone Wars. He did a lot of the Mandalorian shit.
I did like the Clone Wars.
Yeah, he's doing some Ahsoka stuff. So,
but the Clone Wars didn't end correctly, right? Like it was cut short.
Well, they went back and they finished it in the last 3 years. They went back and they finished it. Yeah, they went back and they did one more season to kind of tie it in.
But years afterwards?
Yeah, way years afterwards.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, after Disney took over, they went back and but with the same guy, Dave Filoni, who did the other ones. He's a good shepherd for the whole fucking. He's the guy like closest to Lucas, who still sort of like respects his fucking vision and like asks him, for advice and shit. So anything Dave Filoni, I still, I hold I hold to a higher. But there's one movie coming out that would be his first ever movie. So we'll see what the fuck happens with that.
And what is that supposed to be based on?
It's supposed to be sort of like the end of the Mandoverse. So he's supposed to tie in like the ending of the whole Mandoverse thing to the sequels, the Disney sequels. That's what he's doing. After that, I have no fucking idea what they're doing.
All right. Thank you for the Star Wars update.
All right, we out of here?
I guess we got to close it off.
Yeah.
You got some mariachi music, or you're going?
I'm hoping to find some.
Standard. Or you're going standard?
No, I'm going. Let's see.